Here we are in London for the first round of the round of 10. Sebo Campo on pole from Akari and Revo. Then it's Inet Femness, David Camino and his teammate U-Cable. Neil Red starts 7th from Yuki Suo and his teammate Dash Sanchez. And it's Daniel Bontsov in 10th. Then it's Theodore Schumacher, Solos Kynes, Marcus Nelson, iWorld, Zachary Tigranes, Bob, Wallace Leclerc, Zasha Chan Chan, Leo, T Gabo, Pastor Maldonado, and MS1 World. This is the first race in our playoffs format, the first round of the round of 10 with the reigning world champion starting second. All 5 lights go on. And the playoffs are green. And that's an amazing start from Akari. What a way to rejoin the championship as champion. And he goes side by side with Sebastian Ocampo coming down into turn number 3. Ocampo has lost pole position off of the race start. Top 6 drivers off top 8. No, it is top 6. After the first 3 rounds in our playoffs format, we'll go on to the round of 8, then into the round of 4. And there goes Inet Femness to the lead of the E3. The Ocampo up back in second, gets passed by Akari there, but the top 10 still made up of mainly playoff contenders. Because if we run the playoffs, we have decided that they will have a nerfed car so that they don't interfere with the racing too much, apart from getting laps, sadly. So it is Femness from Akari, from Ocampo, from U-Cable. U-Cable, one of 3 drivers who decided to start on the hards. He's the only playoff contender to start on the hards. This is the first time that we're trying something like this, so if you enjoy it, like, subscribe, YouTuber words. But it is Inet Femness who is currently leading the way as we come through the Club Corner Complex. Sanchez with a 5-second time penalty, very wide there from David Camino. He's currently down in 10th. What this system has allowed us to have is every playoff driver who finishes scores points. Non-playoff driver finishes will be outside of the top 10 unless drivers retire, in which case will most likely be outside of the top 5, as we see the 2 Weldon Toyotas, both playoff contenders, currently alongside each other. They are side by side there, Sanchez and Suo. Sanchez with that 5-second time penalty. Remember, Suo trying to get himself down the inside, and he does. The number 19 gets ahead. Akari will be allowed to choose the number 1 this season 16, but as of now, Ocampo will have that number 1 on his car, and it will be super embarrassing if he gets dropped after the first round in the playoffs. But it is Femness currently leading the way for Hyperdrive Racing. Hyperdrive had an amazing second half of season 15, if you recall. But that said, in the Constructors' Championship is still a fall from grace after season 13's double championship. As we now see Akari closing in on the Romanian number 14. Not quite close enough to try and make the pass. Ocampo with a track limits warning. He decided to go into the mediums to start this E3. That could work out for him later on. And, oh, look at that, a flurry of fastest laps. Ocampo with a 120.316. No one really trying to set lap records right now as the top 10 begin to have a little bit of a field spread. Look outside of the top 10 then. They're currently, oh my goodness me, 8 seconds away from the back of David Camino. They're going to get lapped in literally no time. That is the 2 Lamborghini Makos. These few races, these last 6 races will be the last time we should hear the name Lamborghini Mako, as they become, according to sources, at Schaeffler Audi Sport. They will be bought by the App Group. Whether or not they become Audi is up to them, really. They could become Lola, for all we know, but Marcus Nelson currently outside. He was outside of the top 10 way before the playoffs was introduced. The top 3 sprinting away here. Femness, Akari, and Ocampo. These 3 definitely favourites to take home the playoffs championship. Bob Tasarov up into P5, getting past U-Cable, who at his second home event of the season, not really doing too much. just running in 6th. And that's all she wrote. Into the pits, however, comes Bogusov, Sanchez, Babinus, the race leader, and David Kamenhard. This is pretty much a free pit stop due to most other drivers coming into the pits. And it's just gotta hurt for Pinnacle Formula E team knowing that they have won the championship, they've won their first drivers, but as for a potential playoff championship, they only have one driver to do it with. Meanwhile, most other teams, apart from Renault, who somehow got into the playoffs, they've got both of their cars into the playoff contention. As we see Marcus Nelson now rightfully get past, as well as NF1 World. He's currently 11th, so he's doing pretty good for himself in that 11th position. He's got 9 more laps here in London. Don't care about the zooming past. Oh, but he should track him. But Akari has gone out there with his soft tires, and he's trying his best to extend the tire life. 23%, and he's weaving so much going down through those 2 turns. He's got a pit, and he does. Ocampo comes in with him. Ravo comes in. UK staying out for lap 5. Suo's in, Milrez is in, so Dav Sanchez, as he now comes through Club Corner, it's up to him to see if he keeps the race leader or not. Where is Akari? I think he's still in the pits. Ocampo's going to be leading this. It's between Akari and... No, Akari's out of the pits, but he's behind Ocampo, so it is UK from Babinus, from Ocampo from Akari. That is your top 4. And Dav Sanchez currently 5th with a 5-second time penalty, and rapidly under threat from Bogusov, passed by Bogusov and Ravo, the Italian number 7, right behind both of them, but he gets blocked off by the 72, but he's still got a bit of room to play with if he wanted to try and go around the outside of both of them there. Couldn't quite do it, coming through Village instead, so he's gonna get another chance coming down the National Straight, and he's out-dragged Sanchez there with attack charge. He could try and get past Bogusov. If he could, it would be amazing, but he's still fighting Sanchez. They are side by side with Yuki Suo waiting in the wings. 4-way fight for 5th. This is brilliant racing here. And Suo forced very wide there by Ravo, but he's going to get past with attack mode. Can he even get past his teammate and Bogusov? He gets past Sanchez and into the braking zone. Suo goes from 8th almost to 5th, but Bogusov gets him on corner exit with more acceleration. But he's side by side with Ravo, almost coming into contact there. Brilliant racing from the 4 of these drivers to keep it out of the wall. But there you go, Bogusov from Sanchez, from Suo from Ravo, that's 5th down to 8th. But they're still fighting the 2 Toyotas. They don't know when to quit. There is no quitting with these 2. This is absolutely amazing. Lawrence Leclerc is coming to the pit lane with Gabo, but Cable's still out there on lap 6 of 13. He's trying to take the race win with an alternate strategy. It could work for him. We don't know. We're still looking with these guys. Milrez is now actually coming to the play. This guy was a sleeper agent last season. He somehow managed to get 4th in the World Drivers' Championship, which earned him a playoff spot. He comes from the lowest placed team to make it into the playoffs. In NASCAR, he is what they would call a field filler that managed to make it into the playoffs. So most people expecting Milrez to drop off after the round of 10 and barely even make it into the round of 6 if he does make it there. As there tries to go Yuki Suo, trying to go around the inside on Bogusov, but they've gone wheel to wheel. UK finally comes into pit lane, but is this going to be the strategy that wins the Britain the race? You can see the Union Jack on the top of his helmet. He is one of the few British drivers on the grid. Before, everyone was British. Now we only have UK Leclerc. I'm looking through and trying to name any of these guys if they're British. He is the only British playoff driver. And I really enjoy looking at this, knowing that two of the Philippine drivers are not in the playoffs. Oh, intermediates! Intermediates going on to iWorld's number 21. Alright, so it is raining out there. There is rain falling on parts of Sector 3, mainly the final two turns, and these teams have decided it is good to go intermediate. Second sector is still mostly dry, but there you can see rain falling in front of our cameras. Babinus trying to get past the car here. They go side by side, going through no turn. They're still side by side, but Akari gets ahead of the Romanian number 14. Second place for Akari, and they're going to have to double stack at hyperdrive. There is a 6-second gap there, and UK Ball's Gambit has failed him. He's going to be alongside his teammate 9th and 10th of Braun if it stays as is, and that is not great at all. That was actually a pretty good pit entry for Ravo for that double stack, and he's come out ahead of Kamino and UK Ball. So it's Ocampo who still leads from Akari and Babinus. I believe Yuki Suo should be 4th. He will be 4th, so Ravo losing out on 2 positions to Suo and Bob Cesaro. He should be able to get past both of them on track. And UK Ball's pit stop there onto intermediates took an unusually long amount of time. Not too sure what must have gone on there, but it's still good and racing, which is what we all wanted to see, to be honest. It is Ocampo, however, Season 14 World Drivers Champion, first Philippine World Drivers Champion, and since we have returned it to the FEMC, with this man Akari being the second, the Season 15 champion. And I do believe Ocampo is actually going to be the driver who was E-Dragon Sonic ran with the number 1 for 2 consecutive. He ran with it in Seasons 2, 3, 4, and 5. He didn't run it in Season 6 because he wasn't reigning champion. And he didn't run it ever again because he just didn't like the concept of running with the number 1. So Ocampo will be the second longest driver to run with the number 1 at 24 races. Behind a driver so dominant, nobody really likes talking about his achievements because they won't be beat. Track limits for David Camino, that's 1 warning to his name. He's currently in 8th position. Gav Sanchez, in fact, he dropped to 9th position. He, I believe, was originally like a high position in the playoffs, but now we see his numbers at the end of the season, and he just about scraped by. 4 laps to go here in London's first playoff race. It is Ocampo from Akari from Babinus, as it has been for most of the race. That is actually how they started as well. So, unsurprisingly, somewhat predictable for first round of the playoffs. No retirements are in London, which is always a nice surprise to see. No driver having any issues, although we have run almost every track on the playoff calendar at least once before the season. The only track on the playoff calendar that we haven't run up in the season was the Rome E3. And that was because, well, we didn't want to run in Rome yet. It would have made the playoffs insignificant. Second track limits warning flying at Babinus as he tries to close in on Akari. It's lap 10 of 13 here in London. Neil Rez getting a second track limits warning though. But not just the number 14 struggling up there with his wet tyres. UK Ball also getting a track limits warning. That's unusual. MF1 World and Jago Tigranes fighting over 11, just outside of the points bench positions. And Ocampo is about to encounter some lapped traffic. As here comes MF1 World, getting 11th place away from Jago Tigranes. He's made a monumental climb up the order. Brilliant from the number 91 car. We go on board with Seb Ocampo there. He's about to close in. So he's going to get past Gabo by the end of lap 12 is what we're predicting. We're predicting he's going to get past Gabo by lap 12. But we don't know. And the way he gets pass could actually help Akari, because if it doesn't take too long, then Akari's not going to be able to get past me. If it does take long, then Akari's going to be able to close up. As you can see, he's actually closing up quite a bit through the turns. That Pinnacle car loves the low speed. On to lap 11 of 13 we go. Yuki Suo with a track limits warning. That final chicane is hampering a lot of drivers there. Mueller with his third track limits warning. He gets another one of those, and it's a 5-second time penalty, otherwise known as you get sent to the gulag, considering how close the playoffs grid is. He would be sent down currently to 9th position, because UK Bowl now crossing the line. And you gotta feel for UK Bowl, this is his home race. And he's just not doing too well. He's currently just down in 10th. He's gonna pick up one playoff point, and nothing else will be of note. And Ocampo, he has closed right up to the back of Gabo here. This could be interesting, because that ahead of him, that is the Nissan Nismo, the number 29 from Italy. And he's going to get past down the straight. Simple move to get past Gabo there. Next up on the chopping block is Marcus Nelson. As Akari now, he's going to encounter Gabo either coming through Club Corner or going down the straight. Neither one of which is optimal. Akari with a second track limits warning going through not just the wet of the track, but the dirty air of Gabo ahead of him. And onto the penultimate lap we go. It is Ocampo from Akari from Babness, with Gabo being the lap car between the top two. I think Ocampo has gotten past, or he is about to. He does get past Marcus Nelson there. Lap traffic there, and he did get past him coming through the turn, so that must have been a bit of an issue. There goes Gabo, unlapping himself compared to Akari. And does the number 10 Pinnacle car have any issue there? He didn't really seem to be really happy coming through that last turn. He's going to get past now with Marcus Nelson just a little ways ahead. 53% attack charge left to use. That gets regen through braking. Yeah, and just generating heat into the brakes, which then gets regenerated through science and physics systems. Basically a dynamo within the car that regenerates energy, as he now gets past Marcus Nelson as well. But Ocampo is 5 seconds ahead of him. He's ahead of Theodore Schumacher and Pastor Maldonado. This is Ocampo's race to lose at this point. That's very close to the barrier, though, for the Philippine driver. Very close to the Jaguar for the Slovakian driver in Theodore Schumacher. But on to the final lap of the Prix we go. It's been an almost lights the flag affair for Sebastian Ocampo. As there goes Akari on Theodore Schumacher. Schumacher struggling out there in those wet conditions on this final lap, trying to just bring the car home in 20th position. Similar story for Gabo. And that's very wide for Gabo, getting a track limits warning in the area of the track. The track limit is rarely ever a problem. As here comes Akari getting past his own teammate in Bashi Chantan, countryman in the number 22. Leo did a great job to get himself up into 16th, but a man who did a much more noble job was this man, Sebastian Ocampo. He fumbled at the end of last season, stumbled, because going into the last 4 rounds, he was 50 points ahead of Akari. And he somehow lost it all. Virtual safety car, out goes Akari, and that's an inter-teammate collision! Oh my goodness! Akari is going to leave London, not with 18 playoff points, but with 0! And Akari will get no playoff points. Badness will come home with a P2 finish. Suo will be 3rd. But coming through the final few turns, Sebastian Ocampo, through dry and wet, through rain and night, he alone will win the London E3. And Daniel Bogdasar up now with a 5-second time penalty on the back of Leo. And does that Pinnacle car have any sort of problem? He's lost his front wing. He's struggling out there. My goodness me, for Akari, that is just painful. That is not how you want to end your first race in the playoffs. MF1 World, Jackie Tigranes, and Salas Kynes will all finish on the lead lap, by the way, due to them not being lapped at all. So MF1 World will come home with 1 point, but it will not be 1 point that will count towards the playoffs, due to him not having a P next to his name. He did not enter above the cut line of 10th position. So as for the playoffs point standings themselves, Cable should get an 8th out of this, which is a handful more points than he would have expected due to that collision between the two Pinnacle drivers. And that's just not how Pinnacle's first race in the playoffs, that's not how they wanted it to go. As we see now, Salas Kynes, 12th place finisher, is going to come across the line. No. And here's your first podium in the playoffs. Sebastian Ocampo wins the London Prix, and then it's Ina Badness and Yuki Suo the top 3. Rego is 4th from Neil Rez and David Kavanagh, and it's Daniel Baltasar and Cable top 8. Just outside of it, you have Daf Sanchez, your last playoff driver, 4 points, and MF1 World was 10th. Jackie Tigranes was 11th from Salas Kynes, iWorld, Bob, and Lawrence Clerk. Then it's Bashi Chantan, Theodore Schumacher, Leo, Pastor Maldonado, Marcus Nelson, T. Gabo, and your only retirement was Akari. In the playoff standings, Sebastian Ocampo leads away from Ina Badness, Yuki Suo, and Raven, and it's Neil Rance, David Cameron, Daniel Baltasar, Cable, and Daf Sanchez, with Akari yet to score. So we'll see you guys next time then, when the playoffs return for the Rome E3.